school and got an associate's degree in stats. And so
Hey, Neal.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
Good to see you here. You should run all of the operating systems, and if you're not running KDE Linux, well, why not Fedora KDE? Neal is here to tell us how and why. Use either this mic or that mic.
Okay, cool. Give me. So, hi. So I got a lick. Oh, ow. Yeah, maybe not quite like that. All right. So people are still trickling in, and I'll just give it a minute and change. All right. Let's see. All right, then. So we're here to talk about the Fedora KDE Plasma Desktop Edition because it's real. This year is special because now Fedora KDE is like on the front page, and it's important and stuff. So now what? So before we talk about that, just kind of a breather, an overview of me as a person. I've been doing open source stuff for over 25 years. And my day job is I'm a consultant with my company, Velocity Limitless. You can hire me to do fun open source things, help you do Linux KDE stuff, that sort of thing. I contributed Fedora, CentOS, Alma Linux, OpenSUSE. I've contributed Debian, Arch, all the other distros at one point or another. And I've got a litany of things that I've been involved in. The most important one for you guys here is that I am a member of KDE, and I'm also a co-host on a podcast where I talk about the business of open source. And I also say KDE is the best pretty much everywhere, which is important because KDE is the best. But yeah, so a little bit of an overview because not everyone knows what encompasses Fedora KDE. So we start with Fedora Linux. And the Fedora Project is, an open source project that's sponsored by Red Hat that provides a space to build an operating system and anything that you want to build on top of that operating system with a variety of services and solutions and opinionated stacks and whatever. And that platform, being Fedora Linux, can have different spins and variants and additions. And for those additions, which are the flagships, you have the spins, which are alternatives to those, and then you have labs, which are tailored for specific use cases and things of that nature. So of those additions and spins and whatever, the Fedora KDE SIG, which is under the Fedora Personal Systems Working Group, which is not particularly important other than that it exists at the moment. The Fedora KDE SIG is in charge of all of the Qt KDE stuff within Fedora. And that means that we build the Qt stack, the KDE software, libraries, frameworks, but also we do things like we provide the cross-compiler toolchain for the Qt stack. So for example, if you want to build Windows applications from Linux, you actually can using our toolchain because we provide not just the compiler, but all the libraries and all the associated deployment tools and things like that to be able to package and ship a Windows application. This is actually used for one such application that Fedora itself produces under the Fedora Qt Fedora KDE banner, which is the Fedora Media Writer, which Jan Grulich, who's in the audience, actually develops and maintains the Fedora Media Writer. And it's proof that we are not, in fact, biased towards GNOME for everything because we wrote an application with Qt. But as part of the stuff that we do, we also try to be engaged with our upstream communities. Fedora has a philosophy of what is formally written as staying close to upstream. Other people will refer to this as upstream first, but the idea is while we build opinionated solutions and do things that we need to support our users, we also try to engage with the communities that we depend on to make sure our users' concerns are held and supported, and that we try to find equitable solutions to support our users with the help of our upstream projects, which we consider partners in our success. And of course, Fedora loves KDE because KDE is the best and Fedora is awesome, and putting the two together makes everything better. And one of the things that we do differently from what I've seen for a lot of the other projects that ship KDE is that we ship the latest to everything. So we ship KDE Plasma to Fedora with the very latest versions to the stable releases. So we're continuously updating this. Some of this is because of the lifecycle mismatch that exists between Fedora and KDE Plasma. The release cadence being off-kilter definitely creates some need for this. But some of this is also because our users generally want the newer Plasma, and newer Plasma, updating Plasma is not a hugely disruptive experience for users. So people complain more when we're not updating fast enough rather than when we are, so if we're holding back for one reason or another, people notice. But so we keep up with it, and we try to provide the best, freshest experience. And that also translates into when we get user feedback, we can bring it back to the community and try to resolve it in a way that is mutually beneficial. With KDE Plasma 6 also, we've introduced this for not just Fedora users, but also anybody who's using Enterprise Linux version 10, which is Red Hat Enterprise Linux, CentOS Stream, Alma Linux, and the like. We followed this, we shipped Plasma 6, and it's also synced in cadence with Fedora releases. So when a Fedora release gets the new Plasma, then it gets synced a few weeks later or up to a month later to the EPEL 10. There are peculiarities about that where how we do that in specifics, but that's a little out of scope for this. Point is, we support it for both Enterprise Linux and that. So the flagship experience is our Fedora KDE Plasma Desktop Edition, which is kind of the point of this talk. It's a curated experience that includes top-line KDE applications, references to other applications that obviously we don't want to preload for space reasons. And we do some minor branding and usability tweaks. We use Firefox as our browser, and we have security defaults built in with the firewall and SE Linux and all this other things. We ship it primarily as a live media ISO for x86, ARM, and Power systems. And we have disk images for ARM systems as well because, ARM systems are weird and there's a lot of different ways you kind of have to deal with them, and life sucks, and then there's ARM. So Fedora Kinoite is an alternative to our mainline experience, which takes a more appliance-like minimal approach. So instead of having the applications in there, instead of having the showcase, we have kind of the bare bones desktop experience, the minimal needed applications for the base experience to work. So Discover is baked in, the terminal's baked in, Firefox in there so you can access documentation. You have Dolphin, so you have file browser, but you don't have that much else. So you have the very core applications, and then the rest of them are available through Discover as Flatpaks, or if you want to install Snapd, you can also use Snaps, and there you go. And that's shipped as an install ISO for x86, ARM, and Power systems. And you can just get it from the Kinoite website. And the final bit, as I alluded to earlier, we do KDE for Enterprise Linux. This is because KDE Plasma is not in RHEL. And so since it's not in RHEL, it's from the community, and we provide it as a service to all the Enterprise Linux users that don't like GNOME, which turns out to actually be quite a lot of them. You would be shocked. The kind of people who send me emails asking about KDE for RHEL, and I'm like, yeah, here you go. And notably, we have actually got some prominent downstreams that have been delivering products with KDE Plasma on it. CentOS Hyperscale, which is a special interest group that provides essentially a slightly more up-to-date, more opinionated experience of CentOS Stream intended for large-scale deployments, has other fancy features and stuff that RHEL doesn't ship, uses KDE Plasma as its flagship desktop experience. Alma Linux has a KDE Plasma spin as a live media, as an option that you can get for the live media. There has been ongoing interest in further developing that relationship between KDE and Alma Linux. That will be something to see in the coming weeks, months. But there's definitely, this is gonna definitely be a bigger piece in future years, and maybe I'll do a different talk on it next year about it, and we'll see how that turns out. So the road to an edition. So we talked about all the things that happened with that, but we should probably talk about how we kind of got to this point. So the Fedora KDE SIG has been around for a long time, and I won't go into all the ancient history because if you want all the ancient history, you go watch my talk from Academy 2020, where I actually did talk about this. So this is going to basically be all the point after 2020 that leads to how we got here. So I took over the Fedora KDE SIG after Rex Dieter, who founded it, got too busy and quit. being able to engage in the community, life happens, right? As an earlier, David Edmondson gave a talk about maintainers and such. That's sort of the thing that happened. Life happened, and I stepped up to take over where he wanted to leave off. And so one of the first things I did was I kind of revitalized and restructured the SIG so that people could actually figure out what we were doing. For a long time, we were kind of in this mode of, we're just packaging KDE so that it's available. And it would be available and it would work, but it wasn't anything special. In many ways, I think people would call it an also to or an also ran. Something that exists just so to say we're complete, not to say that we're doing something standout or special. And this was something I wanted to change. I think it is important that if you're building a community around things, you have to have direction, you have to have engagement, you have to have all these other things. So I reestablished meetings, we brought all these things back together. We first started out with text meetings. It turns out nobody can focus in text meetings, so we went to video meetings. I know not everyone was necessarily happy about it, but it definitely meant that we were some dimensions of more productive. If any of you have been in one of the KDE SIG meetings, it's not exactly the most focused meetings, but hey, they're always fun. And again, I mentioned this, that I wanted to bring back some focus, I wanted to bring back a roadmap vision, because when people have something to go towards, something that they believe that they're doing that makes it interesting, it's energizing, and it means that they're more motivated to work on it, they're more motivated to talk about it, they advocate for it on their own, they'll go and reach out, and that really helped. So one of the things we started talking about is like, well, what do we want to do to make ourselves stand out? What do we want to do to advance Fedora KDE? And this was just after Jan fixed up a bunch of crap with the portal backend for KDE so that it worked properly with Firefox screen sharing. And we were talking about it, and it's like, and I suggested, well, let's do the Wayland thing, because Fedora Workstation had just completed their transition to Wayland by default for everything, and stuff was working. And at this point, Zoom was going to work because I'd been badgering them for 18 months, and then they finally gave in and made it work. You have to lie to it to tell it that you're running on GNOME, but it works. Anyway, we did all that, and we talked about this, and everyone was like, okay, let's do this. Let's do Wayland. And then I came around to Academy 2020 and said, hey, we're going to do Wayland now. And I know you're not ready for this, but here's the heads up. We're doing this. And it didn't go as badly as I thought it was going to go. I thought I was going to get virtual tomatoes thrown at me. And what actually came out of it was a discussion with folks like David and Nate about how we think we're at the best we're going to be without people actually using it, and this could be an opportunity to really flesh it out. And one of the main things that drove us to finally making this change was we had gotten to a point where we had the NVIDIA driver kind of working with Wayland. So this was around Plasma 520, 521. And NVIDIA's EGL stream support was at a point where the NVIDIA EGL stream stuff was at a point where it actually didn't crash all the time, which was the bar I was willing to accept for this. And we kind of got started with it, and we rolled with it, and it was a little bit on the bumpy side, but I think that was actually okay. It resulted in people coming into the project asking about stuff, and we got 3 new contributors who are now major people that work on Fedora KDE every day because they were interested in the idea of being part of something where we're making real change and a real impact. Because impact matters. If people feel like their work is going to be meaningful, they're going to put a lot more into it. And then, Timothy Raviere, who's been here a few times to talk about immutable Fedora or atomic Fedora or appliance Fedora, whatever you want to call it. He launched Fedora Kinoite, and that is the atomic variant of Fedora KDE, and it released with Fedora 35, introduced at Academy 2021. And then I managed to wiggle out sponsoring Academy for 2021 and 2022. Sadly, I haven't been able to do it since. My magic powers did not last for very long. If only. But one of the things that I made very important, made very clear as we were doing this, is that we wanted to align how we were progressing with this by working with the KDE community. And this was critically important to me because we can't do it alone. We knew this. The Fedora KDE team is small. Like the core team that actually does most of the work at this point in time was 3 people. It was me, it was Jan, and it was Mark, and that was it. And us 3 definitely can't take on the world. So it was important for us to engage with people who are working on Quinn, people who are working on Plasma Desktop, and making sure that when we're encountering issues that they get bubbled up. They're working with Alish to prioritize things like bugs around the theming stack or Discover and things like that. And we managed to, while it wasn't exactly the most pleasant introduction, it actually worked out quite well. And I think that work that we did with Fedora 34 to 35, 36, 37, 38, and 39, over the course of those 3 years, I think that really helped make it so that when Plasma 6.0 rolled around, we were all comfortable with making it the default in the upstream project so that everyone else was going to experience it. I firmly believe that if we didn't do this for Fedora 34 and kept on with it to give that feedback, to get those bugs fixed, to get those experience things hammered out, we wouldn't be in the position we are today where I firmly believe we are the leader in providing a Wayland experience. There are no Wayland desktops that provide the comprehensive feature set and the usability that KDE Plasma has. And this is a credit to all of y'all who work on this. It's fantastic. It's what I use every day, and I love it. And lots of other people love it too. And being that leader and us driving that leadership forward, both upstream as well as downstream in Fedora, we continued to anticipate that with Plasma 6.0, because we were already ahead of KDE. We were Wayland by default for 3 years before upstream did. So we took the next step. We ripped out Plasma X11. We took it out, and the Fedora KDE SIG doesn't ship it. It's not supported in Fedora, and it's not available in CentOS 10 because there's no X server in CentOS 10, so you don't really have a choice. But most people don't really miss it. I actually get a surprising number of emails where people are like, wow, this is so amazing that it's smooth and it's not glitchy. And I went from Fedora 39 to Fedora 40, and it's everything is amazing. It looks the same, but it's somehow better. And I'm like, well, thanks. You're welcome, I guess. That feedback it also kind of shows up in a lot of the public places. I've seen it in Reddit. I've seen it in tech blogger articles where they're talking about how KDE Plasma on Fedora is the smoothest experience, or the really solid or easy to use. And that's a phrase I didn't expect to see people say. It's Fedora's easy to use. It's and beginner friendly. Those are phrases that I didn't expect to see, and people say it. And I think it's because it's a testament not just to what we're doing in Fedora. It's a testament to what we in Fedora KDE work with you guys in the community to make it better, because that tight feedback loop is how we succeed. So with all of that, we also wind up doing a lot of other stuff with other groups of people. And I think this is the important part, is being able to expand the access of Fedora KDE to more people. We armed up with, working with the Asahi Linux project and the Fedora Asahi SIG. KDE Plasma is the flagship for Fedora Asahi Remix. That is the one we recommend to people. That's the one that goes out there, and that's the default experience. And because it's the default experience for Asahi Linux, we wanted to make sure in mainline Fedora that it is just as well supported upstream in Fedora. So we made a lot of effort into making Fedora KDE on ARM essentially a release blocker. What this means is that a Fedora release isn't going to go out if Fedora KDE on ARM is broken. Full stop. It doesn't matter whether workstation is all fine or anything, or server's okay. If KDE is broken, it needs to be fixed. And this is an important expansion for us because we have not only the Asahi Linux folks that rely on us, we have lots of other downstreams. We have lots of other people who build their own opinionated derivatives for Raspberry Pis, for Pinebooks, for whatever, and they want all this stuff to work too. And we consider it very important to support those people and to have a good experience on ARM. And again, credit where it's due. Whenever we have ARM-specific problems, y'all are great and you help us out. And I want to emphasize that none of this is possible without working with the other people, with you guys upstream, with other communities. Like for PowerPC, this was working with other communities. The Fedora PowerPC SIG, as well as Raptor Systems and a few other folks, you know, they contributed support to Fedora for Qt, the full Qt toolkit to work on PowerPC, which includes having Qt Web Engine, Qt Web View, all those other things. Without those pieces, a huge chunk of the Plasma desktop is just flat out broken. So, like, you need these parts to work, or you don't have a complete experience. And so, with the help of these people, we were able to have Qt Web Engine working, and that meant we had working Plasma Desktop. We had the Flatpak support and FlatHub integration. We had authentication working. We have all those things, all those little features here and there that subtly use Qt Web View or Qt Web Engine. They're all working. KDE PIM works. Well, for some definition of works when it comes to KDE PIM, but you know, if you use KDE PIM and you like KDE PIM works. And so we provided, I mean, it's not release blocking like ARM because I don't think any of us have a PowerPC computer to test with, but hey, if any of you have a Talos workstation and actually like using the thing and would like to come and help us out, please, we would love to chat. And after all of that, last year, with Academy and Flock, we finally did it. We made the submission, and it got approved, and we became an edition. And this is going to sound like a broken record, but again, collaborating with people with KDE, you guys are incredibly nice and helpful. This page is the result of Josh Goins and Carl Schwann and a bunch of other people from KDE that I don't remember off the top of my head, helping us out to make sure that we had the right material on that page, and we cross-referenced all of it to the KDE marketing material. So we linked to KDE for creators, for gamers, for developers, for scientists, because we wanted to establish that tight relationship even from the marketing page. We want it to be clear that this is not just us, this is also you. I think that's ultimately, I think what makes the Plasma Desktop Edition special is it's not just me, it's not just Jan, it's not just the KDE SIG, it's also you guys. All of you who work on KDE stuff, even if you don't touch Fedora or use it at all. Like if you're an OpenSUSE guy or a Gen 2 or whatever, you're doing stuff in Banana, it's all helping even with this. And here's some numbers that I think you will find interesting and fun, maybe. So these are from Fedora's check-in system that occurs when you do a DNF update. This is the graph of check-ins that have occurred across all the releases from the time windows that we've just been talking about, January 2021 to now. In that time frame, we have basically doubled our user base. So we were at the start of me taking over all of this. Actually, it's more than double. It's like sevenfold. We started at a little under 10K users in 2021. And to this day, like it's not quite on here, but like I think the graph was like almost 85K. That is the number of unique systems checking in for Fedora KDE. Now, to be clear, that's for the very latest release of Fedora 42. You have to actually sum up all these peaks that are here at the very end. And I think it's like 90,000 or something like that, 90 to 100,000 weekly check-ins that are requesting updates from our system infrastructure. But let's drill down a little more. These are persistent systems. So there's also a separate number of ephemeral ones. Okay, thank you. There's a separate number of ephemeral ones, and those are systems that, hey, they've been on for like less than a week, and then they fall off, and so we don't care. These are the persistent ones. We have gone from 2K, 1K, 2K persistent systems to 45K, 50K persistent systems, fivefold, tenfold increase. It's phenomenal. And the vast majority of systems now are permanent ones that have been around for more than 25 weeks. which is amazing. That means people like the experience and they're sticking with it. So let's talk a little bit about the future. I want to go through this is a little bit more rapid fire. So RISC-V has become very important to Fedora. There's a lot of strategic stuff going on. There's some strategery from Red Hat doing other things. But the important thing is, like, we want to be on the forefront of all the new platforms and the new architectures and all that sort of stuff. So we have collaborated with the RISC-V SIG to make sure that we can get things done, and they're helping us with getting things patched and improved and fixed. And this has actually reached to a point where I'm working with another team, the Fedora V-Force, I think they call themselves. I keep stumbling on whether I should say V-Force or Five-Force. I think they mean V-Force because their freaking logo abuses the crap out of around it. But like the Fedora V-Force folks, just last week, got to a point where they now have prototype early images of Fedora KDE with the KDE initial system setup stuff integrated, which basically they beat me to the punch. So that's a little unfortunate because I only found out like yesterday morning on LinkedIn. I got told, oh yeah, we have this working now, and here's a pull request to like make it work on mainline Fedora. It's like, okay. So we have very early images for select RISC-V boards where you can use Fedora KDE on it, and it's based on Fedora 42 and has, you know, a forked kernel and all that other fun stuff. But like at least it'll do the job, and it's got Plasma 6.4, it's all the other things. So they're available as of last week, and I think the Star 5 systems are one of those. There's a few others. And then, of course, there's the QEMU image, if you want to poke at it with QEMU. We're also working on preloaded with computers. Becoming an edition has unlocked the door for us to be part of the Fedora Ready program, which includes working with OEMs to support Fedora KDE on their machines, whether it's pre-installed or not, as well as then going into preloads and all this other stuff. The priority around this right now for me and the others is to get the out-of-box experience working, which is why working with Kristen to get the KISS stuff in place. But as of today, you can purchase a Nova Custom computer and have Fedora KDE preloaded on it. That actually happened earlier at Flock, and it didn't really make waves. I don't think people actually understood the significance of it, so that's why I'm repeating it right now. But there are more coming. I am talking to a bunch of people. There's a bunch of requirements to sort out, and as we get those sorted out between accessibility, out-of-box experience, multilingualism, internationalization, lots of boring stuff. But there's a BOF later this week about this stuff. We can talk about it there. But as we get those sorted out, expect to see more of this because I'm actively engaging with these people to see that through. And then Fedora KDE for mobile. We know that the frontier, this frontier matters. Most people are increasingly only having mobile devices as opposed to your traditional laptop and desktop form factors. So we're trying to get started on that front, but this is hard because these devices are all badly supported in upstream Linux kernel and all this other stuff. So there's a bunch of challenges here, but we want to get started anyway. So our first start on this is making it available for tablets. Tablets are a lot easier to support. We don't have to deal with phone modem stuff. A lot less regulatory crap to deal with. We're still trying to find a said portable phone. Any of you have any idea about how to do that or want to help us with making that possible? Feel free to come to talk to us. We have a live media ISO for x86 and ARM systems, as well as a disk image. And there's also a Kinoite version available, so like in the works, like a immutable atomic Fedora type version. It's not released yet, but if you talk to Timothy Raviere, he will point you in the way of how to install them. And finally, I want to say, this is the future. You can be part of that future. If you want to come and work with us and our team, like, it's super easy to come and join us. You see all these wonderful people here. You could also be part of it. You see that the add user button over there at the top right, like that, I could add you. If you're interested in any of this stuff and you want to come and help, come and talk to me, talk to Jan, and we can have a conversation about that and find something that you might be interested in to come and help with. And maybe that just means doing more stuff upstream in KDE, just with the Fedora banner, with the Fedora hat. So that's it.
Now it is time for questions, and I'm going to abuse my position of power here to add a comment. If you're interested in the RISC-V stuff, KDE EV has some RISC-V hardware available. I will give it to you, and you can do the Fedora RISC-V stuff with it. So hit up Neal or me. That's the comment. Here's the questions.
Well, I'm actually also going to abuse the microphone to make more of a comment than a question. I can't help myself. So I've been a Fedora KDE user since 2009, and I think one thing that is underappreciated about you guys that I want people to appreciate more is that unlike many distro communities I've worked with, what I think made the KDE SIG special is that you decided long ago that your product is not only for the end user, it's also for the developer. And I'm not criticizing the distros that obviously care about shipping a product to end users first and foremost, but what it meant is that as a Plasma developer, particularly when we were working on Plasma 5 and bringing that up, if I needed a new library, whether it's KDE or not, or dependency or whatever, to enable my development workflow, I sometimes got that in like sub 6 hours in Fedora mainline, just like with a line on IRC, because you also understood if you package it first and you make sure you talk to upstream that it's packageable well, you will just have less pain later when it comes in a release, right? So you're just doing the work earlier. And I think, you took some credit for helping along with Plasma 6 and the Wayland decision switch, but I think the success story of collaboration starts early. I don't think we would have gotten Plasma 5 out of the door as efficiently as we had without your help. So thank you for that.
That is true. Like I remember being part of the Plasma 5 work way back in the beginning, but I didn't want to go into the ancient history stuff, just mainly talking about when I was lead. But yeah, I mean, I made a decision as part of this, doing the Wayland work in particular, that I would prioritize gaining some kind of ownership over all of the dependencies of Plasma, and to be able to, when developers need it, who work on Plasma using Fedora, that I want to give them the best possible experience that I can, which includes updating things like the Wayland libraries, the Wayland protocols, and getting them shipped as quickly as I can in a reasonable fashion. And I think that that has also helped us be aware ahead of time when things might just go sideways, and get that in a good shape before users see it.
Okay, do we have any actual questions?
Hi, Neal. I would be interested about Kinoite. So you mentioned it. Do you have some numbers about how it's used, and what's your vision or strategy for it in the future? Will you target certain groups of? Oh, watch out! Will you target certain groups of users, or just in general something you want to offer to everybody, or a certain use case you have in mind? And how does it relate to KDE Linux now, which uses a different technology with ButterFS? What do you think you could take over or get inspired by?
It's a good question. So I don't have the numbers for Kinoite on hand because they're actually on my other laptop, and I didn't copy them all over here because this is not my laptop, and so I don't have access to my stuff here. I think that there's been some level of adoption of Kinoite. I don't have specific numbers. I don't think it's anywhere close to the level that we have for this, because we haven't really been heavily marketing it, because, to put it bluntly, I want the user experience to be smooth on the main entry points that you have in there, and we're not quite there yet with Discover and in an atomic operating system, and that is unfortunate, but it is something that has been slowly worked on over the years. My personal vision, which isn't necessarily the most important vision, the most important vision is the person who's actually working on this, which is Timothy, who's unfortunately not here. My personal vision about Kinoite is I see it as a building block for building tailored experiences. I see it as a venue for building KDE-based appliances. So like you look at things like Bazite and similar, and those are essentially customized Fedora KDE experiences tailored for specific use cases, and they don't make any bones about trying to do anything else. And I think that is where you will see the most success with these types of operating systems, because when you make systems like this, you're basically taking complete ownership of what the user can do. They do not, you have to assume that they cannot fix the computer. You have complete ownership of this, and so you have to be fully responsible for what you are delivering. This is kind of the reason I'm personally a little hesitant about using those kinds of systems as a general purpose target, because as you widen the spectrum of use cases, it gets more and more difficult to make a reliable, useful system, and you just wind up building a frustrating system, and I don't want to do that. But that being said, I foresee it being very valuable for particular cases where you're building tailored experiences, like Fedora Labs, which are tailored experiences for specific use cases, I think are a great place for building things on top of Kinoite to use the KDE experience. It's one of the things that I've talked to with the Bazite folks about having an upstream for Bazite that's actually focusing on the gaming building block stuff, like the stuff that we can't ship, that we do ship, that they use, to make sure we have a way to test and integrate and a pure open Fedora version of that for those kinds of cases. And that's where I think that appliance Fedora or atomic Fedora will generally succeed. And as far as KDE Linux goes, I see it I see it taking the appliance case in the opposite direction. It's very, very tailored towards developers. It ships all the development stuff, and you can't really get rid of it. You have to. It's all there. And they do the AB upgrade thing with the systemd sysupdate stuff. And that essentially reinforces that. So you use sysx to do this, you use your containers, and like it's very, very developer-centric. And it really expects you to be a wizard right now. Now, will that change in the future? I don't know. We will see. So that's kind of, I like the Btrfs part, of course. I mean, Fedora KDE also uses Btrfs by default, but they're using it differently. So we'll see how the approach works out. I'm interested in watching how it evolves.
Okay, thank you. We have one question from online, and that is Jules asking, with the recent overhaul of Plasma Big Screen, could there be opportunities to use Fedora KDE for new form factors, such as HTPCs and Linux-based handheld games consoles?
Yes, come talk to me. We want to do this.
Jules is unfortunately not here, but we'll make him talk to you anyway.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Plasma Big Screen, I think, is going to be an interesting way. Like, one of the reasons why we don't have a Bazite type thing upstream in Fedora is we don't have a replacement for big picture mode. And I personally think that Plasma Big Screen could be that free software option to provide that kind of experience. And so I would love to bring that back into Fedora. We had it before, and then we dropped it because it got abandoned and whatever. Bring that back into Fedora, start playing with it as a front end for that kind of experience, and let's see how far we can go. It'd be fun.
All right, anyone else along for the ride? More questions in the room?
Over there.
I have a question.
It's good that you have a question, which I'm going to give you the mic to ask.
Yes.
Hang on, let me just... So, I have a question about joining the Fedora Special Interest Group. I'm not the best when it comes to coding, but I would also like to make a start. Is there like any form of like information or documentation to sort of like basically, are there like list of tasks to complete, and is there right as I was saying, is there like a sort of set of list for like, oh, this tax is newcomer friendly, so and so on and so forth?
We don't directly have that. I think it's mostly because nobody's asked us this question to actively do this. But we do definitely have our task tracker, which has a bunch of like easier to do tasks as well as harder ones and various gradients of that. And of course, you don't have to do programming. It's not just coding, and it's not just packaging. There's also testing. There's especially testing, because it's important for us to make sure that stuff is good, and also writing documentation and helping out other people doing user support stuff. There's lots of dimensions in which we definitely can appreciate assistance and contributors for. So
All
just
right.
come and talk to us about it.
All right. As a reminder, you should install all the operating systems, except Windows 10.
Yeah, don't do that one.
Get rid of that. Let us thank the speaker. Yay. We have a 10-minute break, or a 9-minute break in this room now, and join us at 10 past for Josh Goins and the next talk.